Hi guys, welcome back to This Is How We Do It. Today we're doing a simple level 1 Oysters Rockefeller. So traditional Oysters Rockefeller would have hollandaise and it's on a shucked shell served on top of rock salt. We're going to do this a down and dirty method that we do here. We're not going to do hollandaise. We're going to do cheddar or mozzarella cheese on top with some Parmesan. We have 2 blocks of spinach that we've thawed out, half a pack of bacon, which I guess is half a pound, half an onion. Again, we're doing this easy way instead of buying shucked oysters, which are hard to get in the shell. We got them already shucked for us.
And how big is the container?
And this is
Is it Pacific oysters?
8 ounces. We also have this anisette. A lot of people haven't heard of this. There's a seed called anise. This is anisette liqueur. It's black licorice flavor, and that's kind of the flavor you're going to get. We label ours not to drink. This is for cooking only. I guess you could drink it if you like ouzo or whatever it's called.
It's a Greek vodka.
The Greek vodka, because it does taste like that, but it's just a liqueur. That's just for flavoring. That's one of the unique flavors in Oysters Rockefeller. So basically the Rockefeller is bacon, onion, and then you got your licorice flavor, your spinach, and it's topped with the cheese. That's the easy way we're going to do it. And we're going to cook them on this sheet tray in little piles so they go on the crackers. One is going to be with oysters and one's for kids without oysters. So we'll set that up and show you how I do that. That way when you serve it, you just put an oyster, put that down or put it on the plate, and you give them this tortilla chips. They can eat it right on a tortilla chip instead of sucking it off of an oyster shell. So we'll get started. The first thing you want to do is chop up your bacon. I'll get that out of the package. Right when I get it out, I'll turn my pan on just for timing purposes, kind of keep everything timed. I'm going to go on high to get it hot quick, then I'll turn it down once I get the bacon in there. So we want these bacon pieces in small pieces. This is still kind of frozen. It's semi-soft, but when you keep it that way, your knife cuts through it a lot easier. It doesn't get so jello-y. So you get better pieces when you cut it. That's one of the tricks about cutting little square pieces of bacon. It's hard to do once it's thawed out completely, and if it's cooked, then you're crumbling the bacon, and we don't want neither of those situations. We want these to cook up and be little square, bite-sized, teeny pieces that'll blend in. See, now where I'm thawed out, it's a little harder to cut. And we're going to cut it that way once, and we're just going to turn it. And remember, these are already in slices, so just by doing those 2 cuts, you're going to end up with dices. And they're going to shrink, so they don't have to be too small. Now, depending on how much bacon grease we get, we'll be adding some of it back into the dish for the flavor, and we'll probably be saving some of it depending on how fatty this bacon is. See, when you get to the thawed stuff, it's a lot harder to have a real sharp knife to get through it. So there's my ½ pound of bacon. I'm going to go ahead and throw that in the pan. Pan's already hot that quick. I switched up the cutting board to a clean cutting board. I cleaned my knife off. And remember, always keep a steel on hand. Hit your knife every time you switch products like that from a raw meat or something harder to cut that you really need an edge on. The bacon's frying up nice. Once it starts going, like I said, we'll turn it down a little bit. Next, we want to get the spinach out. And the spinach is bought, it's Kroger brand spinach, and it's already chopped. I know the box looks, when they start thawing out like that, they get a little soggy in the box, but that's okay. I'm just going to pull it out of there. And the reason I'm pulling it out is, even though it's chopped spinach, it's not always chopped well. You got to make sure, so I'm going to probably just rough coarse chop it again to see if I can verify that it's all chopped. I don't want big strings of spinach in my Oysters Rockefeller. Again, when you get to the proper way for this would be fresh spinach. Like I said, that's a level 5 Oysters Rockefeller. You start getting into that, you got, an hour of time. This is the home cooking easy way. So it looks like it's pretty chopped, but I'm just going to rough course chop through it again and just leave it on there and kind of just go back and forth a couple times to make sure. And see, I got my line, so I'm going to go diagonal. You don't even have to move it, and then just crisscross that one again. So you got 4 different cuts on there. Now it should be chopped up good. Let me check my bacon. mixing real good. Little spinach trying to get away there. Okay, and I got my half an onion. So I got to get the skin off that, cut the ends off. And I'm just going to peel it off. The amount of onion is a medium-sized onion, and it's a half one. If you had a small onion, put a whole one in. Now again, for dicing onions, cut it lengthwise from core to core, and if you put your knife in and don't go to the end, just keep chopping little slices into it. But you notice my tip isn't going all the way to the end of that onion. The reason being, it's still hooked together. Now I can go this way and I automatically get dices out of it without having to do any fancy chopping at the end. And lay it down. Finish up that last little section. That saves a lot of time by cutting it the right directions. So that's pretty much the only prep we have. So I'm going to let this bacon cook. Once the bacon gets half crispy, because remember it's going to keep cooking and crisp up a little bit more, and then we're going to add a little in the onion because we want the onion to fry in there too, but we got to let the bacon catch up or you'll burn your onion. Again, it's a timing thing. So when the bacon's about half where I want it, which we're getting pretty close, you see crispy pieces. We want to be for the onions. And we're going to caramelize the onions right in the bacon grease. I'm not going to drain that grease. There's not that much of it in this bacon. I mean, there's a lot, probably 3 tablespoons, but I'm having to season 2 pounds of spinach with that, plus another 1/4 pound probably of onion and a 1/2 pound of bacon we just put in.
So we need this for the flavor.
So yeah, we're keeping it in for all the flavor. I'm going to flip that around again. We're going to put some salt, pepper, and garlic in there. There's the salt, and probably 1/4 teaspoon. Pepper, real selective on that. Some people like a lot of pepper, some don't. I just put a couple shakes. And we're going to do some garlic, and we're just going to get a little coat across there. That's probably a 1/2 teaspoon. Because that is not our major flavor. Those are just the flavors to get the onion and everything nice and yummy. The flavor you're going to be tasting. If you get a big piece like that, it'll cook down, but you can just pull it out. Just a piece I missed when I was cutting. So the onions are going to get nice and soft here. You see the bacon's keeping up with it now. I got some getting crispy and some halfway. I'm going to go down to medium for a minute. Now the spinach is just raw spinach, but we don't have to cook it. We're just really heating it with the bacon grease. So the next step, when this gets all nice and soft and your onions are clarified, they would call it, translucent. So when they get nice and they're starting to get a little translucent, that means it's starting to bring the sugars out. If you actually brown them, they become caramelized, which gets them really sweet. We're not going to have to brown them, we're just going to clarify them, clear them out so that they get nice and tender. It's looking pretty good. It's slowed down again with the electric. If you have gas, you can high-low it real quick, but with electric I got to give it a minute to catch back up, so now I'm going to go back up to medium-high because it dropped a little too much. And let that cook a little bit longer. It's looking nice. It's going to be nice bacon flavor in there. It's looking real yummy. Hard to go wrong with bacon. Now, my understanding, when I was a chef at the Hilton, the recipe that I know for Oysters Rockefeller with all the hollandaise and how they serve it was from Rockefeller when he stayed at the Waldorf Astoria part of the Hilton Corporation. So it was one of their signature dishes there, and I've seen it at other places too. But everyone varies it a little bit different. And just like us, we're going to do this a simple way. So now my bacon is really starting to get crispy on the edges. I don't want it to get hard. So we're going to do 1 ounce of that anise, or anisette, and this is a 2-ounce cup, so I'm putting about 1 ounce of that in there. And it smells just like black licorice, and that's your deglazing. So any alcohol that is in there is going to cook off. You're not going to have alcohol left in there, but the vapors just go away, and then you're left with just the flavor of the anise on there. So now we got our signature flavor on there. That is one of the people who don't ever put it in, they skip that part, but that is an important part to get the flavor. So now the alcohol's all evaporated, all the onions. Now we got to put our spinach in. This might sparkle and pop a little bit. The spinach does have water in it. It is hot grease from the bacon. So we're just gonna cover it so it don't splatter too much as that water seeps into the bacon grease. So when I say covered, I'm covering it not with a lid, just with the spinach as like a surface so that the water in there doesn't start coming up on me. And now we're gonna start mixing it in. And you're gonna watch that bacon grease disappear real quick because that's a lot of spinach to cover. I know it seemed like a lot in that pan, but it was not all that much. Start getting that in there. Look how yummy that looks. Now this is again where you have to go with more salt and pepper because you just added all that spinach, which is 2 pounds of spinach. So it's going to take some seasoning to get that back up to, if I did another teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper there. Now I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to start prepping my oysters. I went down to medium low. Now I just need the spinach to heat up. Since it was thawed, it was just room temperature. So we'll let that sit there for a second. We'll get my cutting board. And we're back to raw, so I'm just going to use my spinach one because it's not going back onto the food. So now when it comes to the oysters, if you were to shuck the oyster to shell, you'd have a huge shell around this. That would be 1 serving. These things are giant oysters when you get them this way. Usually when we do oysters in a restaurant, they're nowhere near that size. I know people they're more like that on oysters on the half shell. These are like giant oysters. So we only got 4.5 oysters in an 8-ounce jar. So those are a little under 2 ounces an oyster. That's a lot of oyster to try getting down on a chip. So we're gonna cut those down and set them on our tray because those are going to be, each serving will have the spinach and toppings on it. So we'll get that ready while that spinach is still going. And again, size is up to you.
We do bite sizes so the kids like it better and they fit on the chip easier.
You want to chomp down that whole thing? I might need more tray today. We'll see. You got a lot came out of that once you cut them down. If I'm doing them in thirds, I should get roughly a dozen. I think that little pack of oysters is what, like $4, Kasha, already done? Like that, where they're already shucked?
Yeah, I think they were $4.99.
So I guess on that particular scenario, it would have been cheaper to buy the whole oyster. But again, when you get the whole ones, they're not that big inside. So I would have had to buy 12 oysters at 45 cents an oyster, so you'd been paying $6 plus the shucking, which then you got to get a shucking tool. So I will probably be doing the real version later as the channel progresses. But for now, if you like this version, just let me know, and then I can work on doing some of the other ones that, the other stuff that's harder. When it's getting nice and hot, I'm going to do a little taste test. Good. Salt and pepper. We're going to do some more salt and pepper. That's probably another teaspoon, another half a teaspoon of pepper.
Just to cover up the top. Yeah, the anise would make a big difference in flavor.
Yeah, without that, you really miss the whole. Then you just have spinach bacon. That would be spinach bacon oysters instead of Rockefeller. Make sure you stir all that salt and pepper back in. You could use a bigger pan. My pan's just barely fitting that. It's like a 12-inch pan, so you might want to get a bigger one to do this if you do it at home. Okay, so now our spinach is nice and hot. We'll do one more taste test. It's really hot. Whew. Yes? Pass? Mm-hmm. Okay, passes the wife test. I'm getting a spoon here. Now when I lay these out, I'm getting my toaster oven hot. I actually have it on toast so it heats really hot, and we got it on high, so we'll crank it on. I don't care what the time is because we're going to watch it.
So our high is 450 toast.
So now I got my oysters on a tray. I got a large tablespoon piece here, so then we're just going to cover each oyster Since I'm not going to have the separated ones, I'll leave myself more room. This is good for a party too, if you want to serve that way, because it's already done for you. You just got to replate it. So we'll get some more. And right now you only have 2/3 your flavor, because your last flavor you're going to be putting on, ours at least, will be the Parmesan and mozzarella on top. We'll just do nice little piles. The stuff's still cooking on there. That is hot stuff right there. So you can wait till it cools down a little bit. I'm just used to doing it for the restaurants. You do it while it's hot, unless you're doing thousands of them. Flip this around.
Are you saving one for the kids or just?
Yep, I got plenty. So this will make probably 24 oyster Rockefellers. You notice they're not small. They were known when Rockefeller used to get them that he could only eat 6 oysters because they were so big by the time he had all this spinach and everything on there in the hotel. Okay, almost. Okay, so now we got all those done. Now the next step's real easy. You're just covering it in cheese. Like I said, instead of a hollandaise sauce, we're going to use the cheese. And this will all start melting down. And then we're actually going to replate it again when we're done. But now these oysters do not have to be fully cooked. These are raw oysters, just like eating on a half shell. So you're not really worried about getting the oysters cooked. It's more heating them up. Get some heat on them without them cooking. Just maybe a little bit to get the, like I said, the coldness off them. You can cook them till they're done. It won't hurt it. So now we get them covered in that. And then we get the fun part of the cheese on top of that.
Parmesan.
I did forget one thing. Usually if I were doing this at a party for people on a tray, I would use I don't even know if I have it, paprika. I think I use it to make all my blackening seasoning. And you sprinkle with some red paprika to bring out the colors in it.
But because don't really care.
We got it on the tray, the toaster oven. Okay, so we got these in. I'm gonna do roughly 5 to 8 minutes. By then the cheese will be nice. If you need to brown the cheese or get it a little hotter, I might put it on broil and take it up, but we'll see how they look after 5 to 8 minutes. I also notice I get comments from my wife and other people that watch me cook. I tend to grab things like this and that rack that's hot in there. I don't recommend that. Don't follow my safety things. That's from being in a restaurant. My hands have calluses on them. I can grab that hot stuff and it's not bothering me. You do that at home, you're gonna know it. That rack I'm pulling out of there is 400
Make sure you
degrees.
use one of the fancy stuff, you know.
I forget and I just go for it.
Okay, so this one is for the kids.
And same with dishing it. I would recommend maybe 2 spoons. You probably don't want to grab a hold of it like I am. That's still about 210 degrees because it has the hot grease in it.
So this is a
Oysters Rockefeller minus
oyster.
the oyster.
So it's a kid-friendly version.
It
but
still
healthy.
tastes like it, minus the oyster on the bottom, and it's got bacon, so the kids like it. My kids do eat the oyster ones, but not all kids and not all people. So if you go to a party, this is a great way to get both versions in there, so people get an idea and they don't have to have the oyster. So like I said, that made us.
It's a great tasting spinach.
24 little piles basically for servings of chips. So not very much. I have to do some math on that. I'm thinking it's under $10. So we're gonna do the same step. Cheese. Kids like cheese, so we'll put the cheese on. We're gonna do the Parmesan.
Mozzarella cheese first.
The Parmesan will sink into the mozzarella. Well, it all falls off, so you can be more delicate with getting it on there. Parmesan, and now this one will go in the toaster oven. That will go on top. I made them a little too tall. So we'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes and check those and see how they look. Okay, I just switched me over to broil here. I want to get these browned. I got the ones on top. So we're going to brown those first. I'll pull those out and then I'll get this other one. It looks like it's really hot now. I got bubbling on the tray. So you know the oysters are getting really warm at this point. The spinach is already hot. So we're going to let that go till it's brown on this top one. Then we'll move that one up there. So I just checked these. They're getting nice and brown on top. So we're going to pull out this tray right here. Set it off to the side on top of the stove. And I'm going to move the bottom one up so that it gets nice and brown. You see I got my really cool Vegas glove I got from a friend that went to Vegas. Look at that bad boy. So we're going to toast those. When you're doing broil, you got to really watch them. Give them about a minute and then check them again because they do cook fast on broil.
Yeah, we're just crisping up the cheese.
So now I'm going over here to my other ones. These are nice and hot. These are the kid version. Okay, don't do what I just did with that rack. It will hurt you. But it's okay.
Want some chips to put on?
There's some really, no, I'm going to let them scoop it. Wow, that burner's still hot too. So we're just going to present them a little better. I don't want to get as much of that cheese and goodness off there. Look at all that yummy cheese. Oh look, I got a cheeseless one. That's like a special one right there. It won't pass inspections. We might have to eat that one on the way. We'll just test it. And by the time I get these on a plate, we should have more coming out for the other ones. Let me spin that around. Just breaking the mozzarella off is rough. And you can make them smaller to get more out of them. I just make them good size. So.
Less work for us.
Yeah, I'm a big eater, and I'm a big guy. So for me, I need 2 bites. 2 of your bites to make 1 of mine. We got a little guy here. We got to save. Okay, there's the kid version. I did happen while that was broiling, playing around, found my little paprika. Like I said, that's just for if it actually comes out.
Make it look fancy.
There you go. That's the oysterless version. Now I'm going to check my regular ones here on top, getting browned. Oh, look at that. That didn't even need paprika. They already got browned. I'm going to turn off the stove. And we're going to lay these out. They actually smell really good. The oyster ones have a much richer flavor smell. And you can see the water on there. That's why I didn't mix trays. I found out the hard way one time when I made it, and the water from the oysters comes out and it runs into the non-oyster ones, and I can tell you some people don't like that. So if you're doing a non-oyster one, make sure you do it on a whole separate tray. Look at this. I like that one. It just looks pretty. That one looks perfect.
Alright, we got 2 plates ready to go.
We'll give it a little wipe down here. And we'll do a bacon, give them a little more golden brown look, even though they already have a pretty good one. There you go. You have Oysters Rockefeller the easy way. And we do serve them with chips. It usually takes a chip per piece, so you can just put them around the plate. There's only going to be 12, 13 chips unless you get people that have really small bites. So whatever makes you happy, easy to serve. It'll go fast usually at a party because it's something unique and people want to try it.
So they're like perfect bites.
And it looks like something really fancy they haven't had, so you can impress your friends. The big name of Oysters Rockefeller, and people are afraid to try it. Tasha can't even wait there.
Can you pass me one so I can show him?
She's already digging into that one. And now the rest I'm just going to serve with chips on the side for the kids. And I hope you like it. Please comment and let us know if you want to try some other ones. And if I get enough comments, ask me to make the real version I can work on that. That'll be a few step process of different videos of making the holidays and shucking and all that good stuff, but we can do that. So if you like it, let me know and we'll go to another version. Thank you for watching. This is how we do it. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day.